My name is Nayari, and I've had this YouTube channel for some years and never really put it to any use. I've been thinking lately that I want to use this to connect with people, to sing, to do covers, and ultimately have some really good conversation, to share things that I'm going through in an effort to connect with you. And I know some of the stuff that I'm going through, you're probably going through too, or you've experienced at some point. Today's topic, I want to talk about fear. It's actually the reason why I came up with this great idea in December for this YouTube channel, and that it's April and I'm just now filming my first episode because I have been sitting on this idea. And literally every time I thought about it, the first thought I would have was, what will people think about it? There are already so many YouTube channels. Maybe no one will care. Maybe no one will watch it. Maybe people I know don't think I'm capable. And I think a lot of times with fear, we project what we're thinking about ourselves, and we try to use other people as the players in our minds to convince us not to do it. Because it was actually me that thought I wasn't capable of doing it. It was actually me that thought I didn't have enough interesting things to talk about, or that I wasn't interesting enough to watch, or maybe there's some things I don't actually want to share, all of these different things. So the first thing I want to say about fear is there's a difference between facing fear and fighting fear. The saying, you've got to face your fears head on, you've got to face how you feel, you've got to face whatever it is. I think it leaves you kind of powerless, because just to face something doesn't mean you actually do anything about it. That's the equivalent of like somebody breaking into your house and you have a staring contest with them. At some point I have to do something. If you break into my house, I'm putting hands on you. That's my action. That's what I'm doing. I don't let you invade what belongs to me and just face you. I'm going to fight you, literally, physically. If you break into my house, I'm going to physically fight you. But in this situation, I have to fight fear. It's not enough for me just to face it. I've been comfortable just acknowledging that I'm afraid. But at some point, I have to empower myself and do something about it. And to empower myself, I have to take the power back from fear. Because when fear is in control, fear is in the driver's seat. Fear is making the decisions. Fear determines the destiny. Fear determines all things. I've decided that I want to get back in the driver's seat of my life. That the visions and the goals and the ideas that I have are valid and are possible. And if I dream it, I'm capable of doing it. And so I have to now get back in the driver's seat and tell fear to get out, to remove, to evict fear. And that thought is crazy for some people. I think because we know that it's a human emotion, we let fear tag along. Which leads me to my next point. We make too much room for fear. It's almost as if we create our dreams and we're like, oh yeah, fear's gonna take up that space, but I'll be over here. I'll play over here and I'll let fear play over here. I'm not willing to do that anymore, and I don't think anyone else should either. To make room for fear where faith could exist, where dreams and goals could exist, where innovative ideas could exist, is unfair to yourself. It's unfair to your future. And it's unfair to every single person that you're called to touch through your purpose and through your future and through your destiny. And so I think taking back the power from fear and the act of fighting fear, right? The difference between facing fear and fighting fear. I think we have to get really specific about what we're afraid of. And so it's not enough just to say, I'm afraid to go back to school, or I'm afraid to start my YouTube channel. I have to sit with myself and say, why? And a lot of my fear is, yes, I was projecting on other people, but I also made other people more important than me in my own life. I had to acknowledge the fear that I'm not always confident about how I look on camera. I had to acknowledge the fear that maybe I don't have enough interesting things to talk about. Maybe people will watch this and be like, yo, that was a waste of my 5 minutes of my life. These are fears that I had, and I had to write them down and get really clear about what I was afraid of and why. And so that leads me to the next part of my video. What I want to do on these videos is to not just talk about things that I'm going through, but also to challenge you and us, because we in this together, to challenge you to do something about it, to do something about your fear, to not just face it, but to fight it. And so my challenge to you is, you ready? You ready? Is to write down 3 fears that you have, 3 goals that you have, and then write down why you haven't done it. I can guarantee you that somewhere in the center of your reason why is some fear, some insecurity. Maybe it's something someone said to you. Maybe they told you you weren't good enough to do whatever it is you want to do, or you're not smart enough, or you're not whatever enough to do whatever it is. Write it down, like clearly, real specific. Write it down. And then figure out what you can do about it. So like I keep going back to this example about going back to school. I don't want to go back to school, just so we clear. I did my 4 years, amen. But if going back to school is a dream for you, what is standing in the way? What's the first step I can take to disarm fear? Well, I can go look up schools that I'm interested in going to. I can create a budget and find out how much it would cost me. I can call an admissions officer and or admissions advisor and have a conversation about what's required to enroll. If I want to heal from past pain, maybe I'm afraid of close relationships and I need to deal with that. Where does that come from? I personally have started going to therapy to get clear about the through line through my life, from my childhood and parental relationships and past relationships, why I'm afraid to be close to people, why I'm afraid to be vulnerable in some areas. Or maybe your fear is going to the gym. And you're like, everybody in there looks like they know what they're doing. I think I'm going to look silly, or I think I'm going to look stupid. The best way to disarm fear in that situation is just to do it. Just go and look silly if you think you're going to look silly. What I've realized about going to the gym is everybody is a little uncomfortable. And very few people actually want to be there. So they're not paying as much attention to you as you think they are. Just the truth. You're important not in that particular circumstance. You're not as important as you think you are. So the challenge is write down your goal, write down the fear that's been stopping you from accomplishing it, and then take the first step. What's the first thing you can do to disarm fear and put yourself back in the driver's seat? So for me, my fear, disarming fear about starting this YouTube channel, was setting up my tripod and my ring light and pressing the record button. That's the best way for me to disarm fear. I wrote down the reasons why I was afraid. I addressed them. I faced them. And then I had to fight fear. So that's why I'm here. So I can't wait to continue to have conversations with you and to really have honest talks about love, about relationships, about life goals, about accomplishing things, about not accomplishing things and dealing with failure and forgiving yourself. I want to talk about all of that kind of stuff here. So make sure you subscribe, because this will be the first of many videos. I wish you much love and many blessings. And if you're bold enough, go ahead and write down your fears in the comments section. You might find that you share a common fear with someone else, that you're not alone. And like all of us, we are more than capable of disarming and taking the power back from fear. So, love y'all. Bye.